You know how they say new always replaces old? I don't know if they actually say that, but we've seen this happen. Nothing is eternal, and somewhere down the line, something always comes up which completely demolishes what we used to once consider cutting edge. Like the smartphones of today that completely destroy the clunky hand grenades that were the Nokia phones. The programming language C is now 50 years old. C++ is close to 37. And I think we finally have a worthy successor, a programming language that is taking the world by storm. You see, the problem with conventional languages is that they're memory unsafe. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me just quickly explain a buffer overflow with an example. Most software programs you have on your computer store data somewhere in the memory. And for my example, we'll consider a calendar. Let's say you wanted to access the entries in the calendar of a specific day. Let's say that day is the 2nd of October. You type in the date and boom. But let's just say you're a little nefarious and you type in a date that's out of bounds. What do you expect will happen? If the programmer of this app hasn't put the necessary security provisions in place to handle a situation like this, what should happen is that the app returns a random bunch of data. However, this is not data you're supposed to see. You see, the software program has access to the memory, and what the calendar app is returning is actually the data of another program. This random data could include saved passwords, browser history, basically anything that you might want to keep hidden, and hackers have been exploiting this vulnerability for years. So what hackers do is they brute force various variables with several payloads that are essentially chunks of data that are bigger than what the variable can handle. And they study the return data to see if they can piece together something useful, like a password or browser history or something else. There's a simple fix to this, like in our calendar example, we'll just make it so that you cannot enter a value greater than the number of days in a month. But it's not easy to create limits for each and every variable in a program. And even the most experienced programmers sometimes skip a few variables. And somewhere down the line, a good hacker will come across this vulnerability and exploit it. Hackers have been exploiting vulnerabilities like this for years and are still continuing to do so because everything from operating system kernels to even simple calculator apps are written in programming languages like C, which are memory unsafe. This is where Rust comes in. It is a language that is designed in such a way that makes it impossible for a programmer to leave any memory-related vulnerabilities in their program. There is currently a large growing movement of programmers out there that want to rewrite everything that has been coded till now in Rust. But you can't just write millions of lines of code overnight. It's gonna take time, and the industry still needs way more Rust programmers than they have today to complete the task. Google has already started work on rewriting Android in Rust. They are currently targeting the more vulnerable functionality of the operating system with the goal of eventually rewriting the entire operating system in Rust. I think it's safe to assume that the tech world is headed in a direction where Rust could potentially take over the scene, and suddenly there could be a huge boom in demand for Rust programmers. So if you're an intermediate programmer who wants to dive into some advanced concepts and learn a new language at the same time, you could try Rust.